Hello guys and welcome back. So now I've done a quick flipbook of the sim. You can see it's working, it's expanding, but we have to do a lot more tweaks to it to make it more interesting. And let's see what we can do to improve it. So I'm gonna save the scene and let's version this up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some velocity to this. I want the source here to have some initial velocity, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a velocity attribute that is equal to the point position, and what that will do is it's going to v at v equal v at p. That's going to create a vector that starts from the origin and shooting upward from the center, and that will give some radial blast to this. And if we go to the source, fluid source here, let's go to velocity, and we should see something. Yeah, you can see the velocity, but right now it's the stamp distance is really low, so we need to increase that to 0.8. You can see we have some radial velocity to help push the fuel. And let's go back here and let's make sure it's set to 1 right now. And I'm gonna delete this animation here. I'm gonna restore it back. I'm gonna restore this guy, and everything else is. I'm gonna restore this, and we're going to leave this to check to create dense smoke. And we're gonna try and make this look a bit more interesting, maybe similar to the first one I showed in the video. And what I'm going to do next is just hit play, see what we have. Okay, it's just rising. I think it's a very good start. It's a very good start. So let's take a look at the sim. You see now that velocity helped give this initial system a much nicer push to start with. So let's go back here and let's lower that velocity to 2.05. Let's hit play. I like the velocity, so let's set this to 0.1. Something like that, and we'll have the system cause it to go upward a bit more. Now this is going to be a slow sim. I mean, it's going to evolve really slow, so this evolution is definitely fine. And I don't want to turn these guys too soon. I want more fuel emission, so I'm going to drag this here for more frames for both of these guys. Okay, and that should emit more fuel, which will cause more expansion, and the overall system will have more data to go with, so it's going to go upward as well. Now what I'd like to do is I'm going to add a ground, and I want the system to use that to collide. Say play. I want it to flatten the bottom part. Cool. Okay, so let's tweak these values. Let's set the burn rate to 0.6, and I want to see the temperature. I'm not sure why I'm not seeing it anymore. Maybe the values are not that high. We have 0 to yeah, the values are not that high. Okay, so we have already some nice expansion, and it's rotating. It's bubbling and causing the whole system to rotate. And you can see now we're getting a silhouette like explosion. So let's hit play. Cool, we're getting some expansion, and then it's starting to swirl because of all the rising happening. And remember, we have these two guys animated, so it only expands for a few frames. Let's play with the gas release, and what I'd like to do is I'm going to set this to 0 in the first frame, and then I want it to quickly go up to, let's say, 60, and then I'm going to set it back to 0 or 5 at a later frame, let's say 14. And all this is pure artistic. I don't have any idea in mind. Cool. So you can see it's creating a mushroom already, and we're missing some parts here. And I think the reason for that is because the whole system is being affected by the it has a high temperature overall. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the fuel efficiency. Let's see what will happen. Sorry, let's lower the fuel efficiency. I'm going to set it to 0.05. I don't want it to be very efficient. Okay, that's not affecting it. I want the trail to be there. So maybe let's emit. Let's see. Let's add a gravity, because it's important as well to have a realistic gravity for this type of sim. And I think that will fix the solution. Now I think everything is being sucked in because everything is super hot. So what I'm going to do is, let's set this to 10, and let's set the smoke emission to something higher. Let's set the smoke, actually let's set it back to 1, and I'm gonna say the heat cutoff, I want to turn anything that meets this threshold into a density, so we have less smoke overall and more we have less temperature and more smoke in the system. So I think the gravity is fighting too much now. It's pushing the system down. So let's turn it off and see what kind of result we have without that. Nice. I think it's working. We just have to tweak the values a little bit more, and this is something that there is no real secret to it, to be honest. Let me pin the viewer here. There's no secret to this other than we have to keep tweaking these values to find the right balance to make this look more interesting. And I think it's working. Maybe a little bit more heat so we have the center goes up faster. And I think the dissipation is really strong. So let's go back in, and what I'm going to do is I'm gonna increase the temperature of the first frame to 60. I wanted to make the system hotter, which will cause it to rise up faster without having to change all the other stuff. And you know what? Let's keep emitting the fuel for a longer period. So I'm gonna move this here. I'm not gonna set it to 0. I'm gonna set it to 1. And then at frame 40, I'm gonna set it to 0. 47. So let's hit play. And now it should keep emitting fuel, just a tiny bit of it. Yeah, we'll keep the fuel, and let me reduce the temperature. Sorry, I didn't change the fuel, so let's set this to back to 1, and now I think it should work. And this is like a typical workflow where you just have to sit down and tweak the values. I'm sure all of you guys know about this stuff. And now we should see the source here being left for a little bit longer and have the explosion have some trail to it. Now you can see how much bubbling we have. We have a lot of smooth shapes just pushing, and there is no details at all. So in the next video we're going to start adding turning on some of the shape modifier to add turbulence to all the system. But I think this is working now. We just need to add a little bit more modifiers to it. And let me go up and change this range to 0 and 4. I'm gonna do a play blast. I think this is working. The settings that I've reached are very similar to the initial one I've created. There's slightly few different areas, but I'll be sharing both files so you guys can compare. And again, the main goal of this section here is not to fully create a very interesting sim, but rather to understand how the settings work. And you can see how much areas we've been going through back and forth, and we're not very clear. Even at this point, I get really confused as to what the heat is, what the burn is, and for me, I want something simple. I want to emit, control the expansion with a slider, and then based on that expansion, I decide how much temperature it goes into the system. And we need to be able to fix all the stuff. We need to be able to, when the system expands, we want to create some interesting shapes, not just a linear expansion or a sphere just growing or something like that. We want something much more interesting. And I think this is working to start with. And I'm gonna turn off the dissipation. I think it's super strong right now, and we'll do that in the next video and start adding the modifiers to the scene. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.